Welcome to the darkness.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. Hey, Pac-Man, it's great to see you. Thanks for always being in our audience. We love you and adore you. And Celeste is trying to get resituated here, but so we'll, yeah. So she should be on here any second. So, ladies, how are you guys doing? Hey, Mud Lover.
Doing fantastic. Hi, everybody.
Oh,
we're going to be doing a good discussion today. Everyone can participate.
I love this. I love it. What are we talking about?
So we're going to be talking about empaths. And like, I know that like it goes so hand in hand with like, you know, psychic readings, mediums, like spirituality and like being in tune with like that sort of like energy, you know, and like it's so interesting to me. And so I have questions that I know that you guys can answer, but also, you know, I've done some research, so we're gonna learn together. Well, I'm sure you guys know all of it, you know, you're the experts. But yeah, we're gonna talk about empaths. So just like for like the general people that don't kind of like know, like an empath deeply feels the emotions and energy of others. So you walk into a room, if there's a lot of people in the room, you can like sense like what like the general feeling of the room is, or you can feel like individual things from individual people. And then psychic empaths can use that because they can feel like the feelings, the thoughts of people that have passed on, you know, spirits that have come to visit and are trying to communicate. So if you like, you know, there's mediums like you guys, you wonderful people, that can communicate really clearly with people on the other side, people that have passed on. And then there's empaths that kind of have to go off of like that feeling, like trying to communicate because someone is there and someone's trying to communicate something, but they can only sense what they're feeling. So I am going to ask some questions, and then if you guys have personal experiences, jump in, you know, because I'm an amateur. I can only Google. So I would appreciate the professional input on this episode. So
Absolutely.
thank you. You guys are the experts. So some common traits, and you know, I've watched a few videos, I read some personal accounts, did some like general research, you know, and like you kind of work from like the broad in, I feel like, when you do research. And so, you know, you Google it first and you find like your definition, and it's just kind of like your broad black and white, this is what the world generally thinks. And then you kind of like go in and you can say, this is what the general consensus of the empaths think, and then this is like the specific experiences that most empaths have. And you know, it just kind of like gets more and more and more specific. And that's kind of like how I generally like to do research, you know, in all scenarios, outside in. So I kind of looked up like common traits of empaths and kind of what each of them consider is like generally what they're experiencing, generally what they're feeling. So a lot of times empaths feel like very overwhelmed in like crowds, you know, because kind of as I mentioned in the beginning, they feel everything. They are feeling all of the anxiety, all of the overwhelm, all of the joy, sadness, everything. And you know, a lot of empaths seem like they're introverted because they are put into a situation and they're feeling all of this, and like it's not comfortable, especially if you're unaware, you know, or if you're not completely in tune or know how to channel that. It seems like people really like they tend to seclude themselves so that they're comfortable and they don't have this like massive overwhelming anxiety. But I've also read that like you can be a social person. You absolutely can be a social person and thrive in a social environment as an empath. And like the closest thing I can relate it to is being like an ambivert. You know, like your introverts are people that don't like crowds, don't like people. They like themselves and their cat. And then you have your extroverts, which hate being alone. They like to always have multiple companions. They thrive in social situations. But an ambivert is someone that thrives in a social situation, but they get burnt out socially, and they also enjoy their private time.
That's
and yeah, I was going to say a
Totally.
lot of people like that are empaths fall into that category.
Mhm.
Hello, David. Oh, and I don't know if we mentioned it, but if you have a comment or a question for our awesome mediums, interrupt me. I'm just going to keep talking if no one interrupts me. It's a blessing and a curse.
I love it.
So another thing is like, I mean, okay, so as someone, you know, that has like a psychologist that I visit them regularly, you know, you can talk about like bipolar disorder, like, which is, you know, your switching of moods, shifting of moods, and like outbursts and stuff like that. But empaths do feel those sudden changes of emotions, joy, fear, anger, and especially if they're unaware of it, they may have symptoms that are like very similar to like bipolar disorder, and they just have no idea because they're reading this energy. And I mean, if you're unaware, or you know, you are in this space where you cannot be self-aware, then it can be very harmful. So kind of like my first question is like, what are some signs, or what are some things that you can look for when like you think you may be an empath? Like, of course, like there's people that are, you know, intuitive, or like generally empathetic of others, but to be an empath, to be a spiritual empath or a psychic empath, what are some signs that like you guys notice or that other people can watch out for?
You go first,
Well,
Celeste.
yes, let's go ahead.
If my thing's working, because it's glitching right and left, and it's the same computer I've been using for months. But anyway, I don't. And my cord that the other computer's plugged into, there's not a slot big enough in this computer to plug it into. So,
Yeah,
for
you're
me, I
You're
literally
glitching.
is it. So, do you want me to not just?
Yeah, it's. Go ahead and try. Let's see what happens. Are you
Okay.
there?
I physically feel people's emotions, if they have a headache, if they have a backache, they're angry, they're happy. And I've had to learn to ask myself, is this me that's feeling this, or am I picking up on someone else? So that can get, okay. That can get really overwhelming, but it works great with my healing because I know exactly where I need to send the Reiki energy, because I can feel the pain or I can feel the illness.
So you actually get like the physical symptoms.
Yeah. I can tell you, McKenna,
I
tried.
Right. I'm with you, David.
I don't know if I'm glitching or everybody else is. I don't know what's happening. But I can tell you on an investigation, I can feel the pain of their death.
Oh, wow.
And it's not fun. If they've gotten shot, a heart attack, whatever, it's there front and center for me. And I've learned how to ignore it because I know it's not my pain. Today I got a really bad stomach pain and I knew it was from a friend.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it was like, I know it's not mine. It's not mine. They've been on my mind and yep. So yeah, it's different. It's a different kind of feeling though, girls, right? Like Susie, Celeste, it's like, it's not your pain.
Well, in
Yeah.
my experience, especially with like baby empaths, those that don't know that they're an empath, they have a tough time differentiating their emotions and their pain from those that they're absorbing and they're stepping into. And so they do come across sometimes as bipolar or confused or, and they just don't know what to do. And that's why they do retreat. They do hide because they just get overwhelmed. Now, the difference that I would teach them is, if you're going along just fine and your thought process is down here, and all of a sudden, I mean, you're like happy as a clam, you're thinking of beaches and everything, and all of a sudden out of left field, you either get a stomach pain or you get this overwhelming, like I'm going to die, or, just anything, just out of left field. I'm like, was it out of left field? They're like, yeah, I have no idea why that was there. I said, that wasn't you. That was someone else you're picking up on. And so, like David said, as far as counseling, it really helps because we are human lie detectors. You can lie with your face all you want, but that energy that you put out and those emotions and even those thoughts, we read that. And it's really, really interesting to have all that dumped on us all at once. But once you get used to recognizing that that's someone else's, you can actually push that energy back to them, or you can put up those blocks and those shields so you can recognize that, hey, that's someone else's, it's not mine, and I don't have to take that. I can use it as a tool. So like we walk into a room and we go, oh crap, I can feel the tension, and you like cut it like a knife and it's not safe for me. Use that for you to leave. You know what I mean? Don't sit there and absorb it. So yeah, it's just really interesting. It's a tool.
Yeah. So do baby empaths, do they have to like just kind of learn to distinguish what's like their pain and others' pain? Or is there like, okay, so like there's not like a physical feeling to like differentiate. Like it's not kind of like a dull, it is, wow.
You
So
have
just kind
to
of
literally learn it. And a lot of times what is really nice is one empath will actually recognize another. And a lot of times us empaths will teach each other how to feel, how to block, how to recognize what's theirs and what's not theirs. Because honestly, if we take in everyone's emotions, their sickness, their pain, even their happiness, everything that's not ours, it can literally make us sick. So we have to be careful.
Okay, so that was actually one of my questions that I have written down in the end of my packet here. But how does an empath like recognize another empath? Is it when you become
so weird? It's like kismet. You just like you connect, like the first time you meet someone, you're like, have I met you before? Oh, there's something I recognize something in you. It clicks.
Right.
Right.
I mean, okay. So personal experience. I've had that twice that like I've ever recognized. So once was, I know I told you guys, I went to the local witch shop and I had like an hour-long conversation with a gal, gave her a hug, and I still don't know her name, but like we connected. That is like one time I'm like that is, it's so bizarre. Like you feel like you've known them for like 1,000 years. And the other time was the first time I met Susie. You gave me a hug. And like, I just got like the weirdest, like positive feeling. Like it was insane. It was insane. Like I'd never felt something like that before.
Are you sure I get just past gas in your presence? I don't know. Just kidding.
Only if it's magic.
It's sparkly and unicorn, so we won't worry about it.
So on our team, Tim was a budding empath. And it wasn't until we went to Skinwalker and stood on the mesa that it hit him front and center. And now he's full blown, full blown.
Wow.
Yeah. So when we were up on the mesa, there was a full body apparition with of a Native American in full, deer skin, and he actually sounded off. He was doing some kind of ceremonial sound, and then we all turned to look at him, and then poof, he was gone. And then from that moment on, Tin said he had to deal with full blown empath abilities, and it really shook him.
Sounds like that's actually a blessing. It sounds like what the native did finished opening him up.
Yeah. Well, Vernal has a way of doing all of that whole area.
It does.
Yeah.
There's energy everywhere out here.
And if it's not a spiritual experience for some people, because we all have these abilities, with some people, it's a near-death experience. It could be even trauma that awakens it as well. Especially, because like David and I know, dealing with a lot of people with trauma, we do run into a lot of empaths as well. They just don't know what they've got. So
let me ask Celeste a question here. We know that you're an incredible psychic medium, and it comes with all of those gifts. You have all of these skills. Do you distinguish? Do you differentiate your psychic medium skills with empathic skills, or is it all one and the same for you?
What is interesting is I never used to have names or labels of what I did. I talked to the dead. I had premonitions. I didn't say, oh, I'm an empath. Oh, I'm psychic. Oh, I'm a medium. And it was later when people would describe it and define it, I'd be like, oh. So it's almost like if you imagine a pizza, there's onions and meat and peppers and olives and, but it's a pizza. That's kind of how I feel, is that's all just a part of me. I don't this isn't my empathic side and this isn't my, psychic side. It's definitely, it's just all a facet of my diamond, I guess.
Thank you. It's super fascinating to me when you
I'd been doing healings my whole entire life. I used to heal my animals when they were sick. And then somebody's like, oh, are you a Reiki healer? And I'm like, what's that? And I've done it now because people recognize that term, but I've healed since I was a little child, and it's like, is a rose no matter what we call it? Yeah, I think that's kind of it.
You want to take that one, Celeste?
What's the one about past lives? Let's see.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't remember that my mom ever really specifically practiced Reiki as a psychic medium, but I know she healed everything as well. And I think she just didn't know what to maybe term it, call it, whatever ability. I mean, she's passed over 20 years ago, so I don't know that some of this was really acknowledged back then.
Yeah.
Well, for example, one of the Reiki thoughts is you never just give people Reiki. They have to either have asked it or you have to get their permission. I've sent healing energy my whole life. And the way I look at it is you sit out the bowl of chips and dip. And if people want it, they're going to reach in and get it, And so I send the energy out. And if they're willing to accept it, even if it's subconsciously, it's there for them to use to their benefit.
Okay. This is Angelique's comment that you're working on.
Yes.
So kind of going off of something that Susie said about past trauma and having those abilities, like those empathic senses. It's actually something that I had discussed with my mother-in-law, and we can totally get into that here in a second, but it's called the gift of fear. We'll go ahead and let Gina finish what she was about to say, and then we're going to kind of get into that.
Yeah. And then
the first thing that go ahead, Colleen.
Oh, I was just going to say, after you're done, Celeste, if Susie could take Sherry's question, and then we'll go on.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, the first thing that I saw, and I don't know if it fits what you're asking, it fits. The first thing that I saw is you were some type of a warrior or some type of I almost want to say it was a male life, but you were I'm seeing you with a spear. I'm seeing you like a native type person, whether it's Native American or it's like African, but it's somebody who was the primal basic survival in life was to be prepared to fight. And I see that in you. And I think that is coming out in a lot of people right now. We're kind of in a bit of a chaotic time. Lots of things are unusual compared to how they have been throughout our lifetimes. And so I don't know if that guardian protector warrior is something that is actually beneficial to you in this life. I don't see you as a big person that in it. You're very spry and thin and fast and agile, but I see you carrying a large spear. And it was not somebody who picked fights just for the sake of killing someone or going into battle. It was a protector. And so I feel that energy really strong with you. And I don't know if it's because you need to be reminded that you are safe in and of yourself, or if you are a person who feels drawn to help other people in their battles. And again, it's not necessarily a fighting battle in this lifetime, like war or anything like that, but just spiritual and strength and courage and bravery. Those are the things that I'm picking up right now.
Thank you,
So
Celeste.
think about that. If you have other questions, let me know.
And Susie's question for Sherry. And then Celeste, if you could look down at Lizette's, and we'll take her reading after we have some more discussion with McKenna.
So as far as Sherry's, is this the new place? Because I'm tapping into like this spiritual energy, and whoever's there is like confused. So like why you're there, they're feeling guarded. They're like, why are these people here? I don't understand this. So it's more on their end. Okay, so
Yeah.
then it's more confusion of why, like, why are you leaving? Just wanting that attention, feeling defensive over a lot of the changes that are happening because they were comfortable and now they're getting uncomfortable, if that makes sense. So, I mean, you guys have been connected with them for quite a while and you've been communicating with them. And then, so they're going to be losing that landline basically, and who knows what they'll get. So they're trying to get all the attention they can before you bail. So, but just so you two know, you're like Celeste and I, it doesn't matter where you go, they'll be. So it's not the places always that are, haunted. It's you guys because you draw them in. So that's why I was kind of like, is this the old house or the new house? Because I'm getting a little bit of like transference type of an energy. I'm not saying they're going to follow you, but you guys are like little flames for all these moths around you. So just be aware.
Thank you, Susie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, McKenna.
Okay, so Susie had mentioned that some empaths kind of gain their abilities or amplify their abilities from like trauma, and that kind of goes into a discussion I actually had recently with my mother-in-law, and we're talking about like human instinct, human perception, reading like danger in others specifically, and she mentioned this book. It's called The Gift of Fear. And at some point I'm going to get it. I'm going to read it. I kind of got like a snippet like of it read to me, and it's very interesting. And it is about building your perception of others and using fear for that. And it kind of like ties into, because like I like to look into like the science of of whatever it is we're researching or talking about. I look at the paranormal side, I look at the scientific side, and a lot of the times there are similarities and there's areas where they cross. And what's very interesting about this one is, it's like part of our baser instinct to detect when something or someone wants to do us harm. It's part of our, need to procreate, feeling that energy positively, like between you and another person, or how you know whether or not you're safe. Like when we were hunter-gatherers, we had to feel those, to have those instincts and have that intuition to survive. And so that is part of our baser instinct. But this is kind of where it ties into the spiritual. There are things called mirror neurons in our brain, and they're a type of brain cell, and they react both when an action is observed, so when you're watching one, or when it's performed, like on you. And so these mirror neurons act like an adaptive cell. So they kind of form your brain in a way that's like, I am going to adapt to what I am looking at, or I'm going to feel what I'm seeing, and that's kind of like how scientists have explained it. But kind of going back to our previous two discussions, we've been discussing telepathic abilities in nonverbal autistic people, and mirroring is a very common trait in people with autism, nonverbal autism, or high functioning autism and ADHD. They do echolalia, which is repeating words back and forth. They repeat, they copy accents, they copy physical movements. And in the telepathy tapes, it was proven, absolutely proven, video evidence that these nonverbal autistic individuals had this higher level of ability to where they were feeling things that they should not have felt, and they were seeing things they should not have been able to see. And they explain it as like a mirror neuron, but these mirroring capabilities also have a place in this whole other realm, in this whole other plane of communication that is absolutely a higher form of communication. So it totally can be scientifically tied in with these brain cells that individuals are performing a higher form of communication.
That's absolutely fascinating. I think for sure they have looked at mirror neurons for that's some people physically feel the pain of someone else. Say you skin your knee, like you instantly go, oh God, you feel it like as soon as you look at somebody's skin knee. Some people have that trait. I can't look at somebody's wound and feel it on my arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can get it in my gut, like, ooh, I've been there. I know what that feels like. But I feel it. I don't know how to explain it. So this one I've described a few times to people trying to explain what empathic traits are. Is a couple walked past me and their grief almost brought me to my knees. I could feel that they had just lost a child and a baby, and they didn't say anything. They were just casually walking down the street, but it was all they could do to contain that. And I felt their emotional pain, I can't, it was unbelievable. I don't like that. I try to block it as much as I can. It really sucks. It really sucks to have that.
Well, I think that also ties into being like a Virgo trait, and we do like to have control, especially of ourselves and our own minds. I'm the same way.
Yeah. So let's see, Celeste, you were going to take Lizette's reading, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
Lizette.
then Susie, David has. I think.
So I'm going to rain on your parade, Colleen. Yes.
Huh? What? I couldn't hear you. You cut off.
I was going to rain on your parade. I'm going to rain on your parade. I'm going to rain on your parade. It doesn't suck because it isn't about you per se, I had somebody give me this speech when I was complaining about knowing when people are going to die. And I didn't want to know when people are going to die. Just let me find out with everyone else. And they're like, it's not about you. You're given a gift because you're supposed to share that with other people. So it could just be that, maybe they would have bumped into you otherwise, and you might have been like, look where you're going, not realizing that they're so enshrouded in their grief, kind of a thing. Yeah. And you have to learn to filter things like that, especially really painful things like that, out a bit. But supposedly our gifts are not, they're about us being able to help people.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Okay.
enjoy.
We'll go with that.
It is really difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I am super busy this time of year. And I feel like either you enjoy, I have a hard time sitting still. And so I like the being busy, but sometimes I get too busy and I make the rules. I set my schedule. I can't say my rotten boss made me work overtime. I kind of feel like you might have that energy where you need something to think about, to do, to be involved with, and you can find yourself getting overwhelmed. And it doesn't need to be like major things, but I'm just feeling like that might be something that you're either in now or going to be getting into in February. So I just wanted to make sure that you are aware, because I always say my boss is awful. She works me to death. And everybody's like, aren't you self-employed? Yes, I am. Thank you. But a lot of times those things that can really weigh us down and overwhelm us, we've kind of chosen, and sometimes it's subconsciously. So just be aware that you're not putting yourself too thin. The other thing is that, and this, I'm talking to me as much as I'm talking to you, I swear. Make sure that you're doing fun things. We're still kind of in the dark, cold part of the year, and it's really common for people to get a little more depressed or feel a little more anxious. And so make sure you're doing some fun things. Don't get yourself so busy doing, oh, well, I need to clean a house. Oh, well, that you're keeping things in balance. That's probably a really great word we should all work on. Is there has to be times of working really hard, and there has to be times of resting. And especially if you're a hard worker, you parallel that we have. Just be aware, try to keep the balance. And yes, David, light and energy to you, but that's what I do. I don't even think about it half the time. When you posted that, I'm like, yes, I did. But anyway, Lizette, I feel like there's lots of options and opportunities of things to do. And remember, you get to have the power of discernment, of deciding how much and when and where on a lot of it, because some of it you don't have control. Like if your job or whatever is requiring more of you, we can't always modify that, but we definitely can remember to, oh, it would be fun to go to a movie, or let's go for a walk around the block, or, something like that. Let's go get an ice cream cone. We haven't gone and gotten, and it sounds silly, some of them, but sometimes it's those little things that kind of give us either that rest or that reward for hard work.
Thank you, Celeste. That's awesome. That's awesome advice for everybody. And Susie, will you take David's?
Absolutely. So, David, yes. The short answer is yes. Someone is pulling energy. They are not doing it intentionally from your home. They are living. They are not deceased. It's a male energy. It is someone that you have had recent contact with, that you have given advice to, whether in a formal setting or informal setting. Okay. But this is their personality trait is they're someone that is quite jealous of the things that you have, your family situation, your money situation, your home. They're like, oh, I wish I could be like you. They're very, very insecure. I tapped into this person. They're someone that's always feeling left out, but they're someone that self-sabotages. They leave themselves out. They can't make a decision by themselves to save their life. So they're always coming to you or to someone else to make the decisions for them. They do not follow their intuition. This person is basically, in a big fat nutshell, they're an energy vampire. They don't realize it, but that's exactly what they're doing to you and to your home right now. So you need to get your wards blocked up and reverse that back. So yeah, this came through really, really strong. Sorry that was a long tirade, but I did like 5 decks while I was waiting. So hopefully you know who this person is.
Wow, right on the money there, Susie, apparently. So, yeah. Go ahead, McKenna.
All right. So kind of dip it back into our empath conversation. So empaths don't only feel the emotions, like the physical symptoms from humans. A lot of empaths tend to go into like healthcare or counseling, and a lot also go into like vet med because they can also feel the emotions and the pain of animals, which when you're in like a healthcare field or a field like that where you are caring for animals, like I can't imagine what the kind of burnout you might have, because, especially
they're way worse.
right. Well, I guess I imagine like the closest thing to like animal, like vet med, it would be like pediatrics, because you have a purely innocent being and they are experiencing some sort of turmoil or some sort of pain, and they are not self-regulating, that adults are, or emotionally mature or mature spiritual individuals are. So how do you deal with that as an empath? Like, how do you process it or kind of recover from feeling all of those things, especially when it comes from a place of something that, or someone that does not understand the pain?
I can speak, I think, a little bit because I've done animal rescue my whole life. And they understand a hell of a lot more than people give them credit for. They completely get it. They know what's going on. They can tell you when they're done. They can tell you when they're going to fight and get better. They can tell you when they're hanging on by a thread. They tell you that. It speaks to your soul. You can feel it. You hear them. I just took a 14-year-old cat in to have teeth removed because she kept telling me she wasn't done. Okay, if you're not done, then we keep hanging on, sweetie, You do that. Yeah. And then Celeste's incredible communication she had with my draft horse. Yeah, it's a phenomenal power that some people have. It's a phenomenal gift with the animals. I can't speak with children. I've never worked with them, but yeah. Celeste, Susie? Either?
It's funny because I've always talked. I don't mean like what we're doing right now. And I never really, I don't know the right word, until Zephyr, I heard a male voice. I didn't hear a horse or just feel it. I heard him. And we were not, I was at my house. He was out with Colleen and he's literally, what?
He sounded like James Earl Jones. In my head.
Something. He was mellow yellow, But when I started healing, it was a cat and then my dog and then another cat. And it was like I knew, and I would even just when I had a very vocal orange tabby that was half Siamese, and Siamese are very vocal cats, and they have different sounding communication depending on what they want. Like get up off of your and give me some food now, or I want out, or, you know, I need you to pet me. I need you to stop. I mean, he had very, very large language. And I would always say, oh, Hunter said he needs blah, 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 or Hunter said, and my kids would say, you can understand him? And I'm like, yeah. But it wasn't words, but I understood him and he understood me. And it was like Zephyr was the first one that I wouldn't say audibly. I didn't hear it like out here. I heard it like I'm sitting in this room and I'm listening to you guys talk through the computer. But he was extremely wise, and he was very, very good at communicating, because I am a big, oh no, don't give up yet. You need to, and he was like, it's my time. And this is what's going to happen, and tell her this is the right thing to do. And it was gold. What he said, I fully believed. And it's very interesting, but I've always, and I didn't ever think about it as, I mean, I said, yeah, I'm talking to the cat, or the dog said, or the dog, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and, but I think like about ending without words.
Susie, what is your experience with
Everybody's disappearing in and out on my computer.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, there we go. I was like,
no. But Susie, what has been your experience with communicating with either children or animals?
I've always communicated with them. It gets scary at times because they will leave their owners and their parents and they will follow me in parks, in Walmart. I've had one child who didn't speak any words at all. And I was behind mom and the child in the aisle, checkout, and she started talking to me. And mom dropped her stuff on the floor and just freaked out and started crying. And she said she's never spoken before. What did you do? And I was just like, nothing. That's the way it is. They're the more pure souls and animals do communicate. Children do communicate. They're just on a more energetic level. They're highly, highly intelligent little beings. Mm-hmm. It's just all of that trauma and life experience, the myelinization of your brain cells and those stupid, expectations that people put on you of this is how you're supposed to look, act, feel, is what waters everything down. And we get away from that. But sorry, I kind of like mentally stepped out for a second, Colleen, because your Lynn is there with Boo Boo.
Lynn is?
Lynn comforting her. I saw her laying there on the floor with Boo Boo. And Boo Boo had some kind of white fluffy blanket. And there was a little dish of food in front of her. And she was just laying there petting her.
So, maybe Boo Boo is getting ready to pass then.
Well, I'm not sure if it's a passing thing or it's just she's there comforting her because she's in a lot of pain. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Thank you. You said something that kind of triggered me, Susie, because now I'm wondering if this was what was going on. As a young adult, through probably half of my adulthood, little kids followed me, and in the Navy they called me the Pied Piper. If there were kids on base, I'd be walking and kids would be following me, and I couldn't stand to be around kids. I was like,
it's because you're like
I was overwhelmed with them. I couldn't handle them, and everybody called me the Pied Piper. I'd be walking through the galley, and if anybody had their kids in there, kids following me, I'm like, what is going on? And they'd all laugh. They'd all laugh about it because I was always like,
If you ever catch them and you're just like, let's say in Walmart, just standing there and some little teeny child just turns their head and looks at you and stares in awe, then they are literally seeing through all of the BS that this world puts on and seeing your soul.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
They're very attracted to those pure souls and that pure energy because they see that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But I'll take your words on
Yeah,
Boo Boo.
it's weird. Even on investigations, I don't know if you remember this. I believe it was Kevin and Cheryl's house, but I'm not sure. They had a cat, and animals love me. They always come to me, and I went to go pet it, and they're like, "No, don't touch the cat. They hate it. Doesn't hate you." And it was like, no, they usually like me. But it's funny. They sense things. I was doing a wedding, and there was a little boy that was about 2 or 3 years old, and I was standing there in broad daylight, normal, what I usually wear to do any wedding, and he goes, "You're a witch." And his mom's like, "Don't say that. That's mean." And I said, "No, it's okay. It's okay." And he goes, "You're magical." And it was like just that ability to see, especially what I don't necessarily, but yeah, it's like whatever word is familiar with you to use, but the mother was mortified that he called me a witch. And I'm like, "It's okay. It's okay." And he goes,
I've had
"No,
little kids call
she's
me those same
magical."
things too.
So
They're
I'm like, it must be seeing Glinda in me.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really, really cool.
Mm-hmm. Colleen, I do wonder though, especially, okay, so you'd say like you would be followed by kids and it's like a troop and it's generally in like a social situation. Were you aware of like your empathic tendencies, empathic abilities like at this point? Okay.
No.
So that totally
Only
would
with
make
animals.
sense.
I knew that I had a gift of communication and healing animals, but I didn't.
Mhm.
I did not want to be around a child, let alone an adult. I didn't like people. I mean, it's funny. It was weird. I was always kind of, no, I'd rather be in the barn than anywhere else. And
Right.
and my friends in the Navy, like, I can't tell you how many times somebody would show up and say, "Hey, can you take our son overnight?" And I'm like, "What? Like, he's 2. What?
You're like,
what are you talking about?" Like, and they said, "No, we trust you with our child." I'm like, "Me? What do you? I didn't want." And it was just weird. It was like, and no matter where I was, there was children. I know. I didn't want anything to do with him. It was so strange. And my mom would laugh. She'd like, "You've always had that with children. They've always been attracted to you." And I've always been like hissing at them. I didn't want anything around. Now I can't get enough of them. So
oh yeah, well, my boys are obsessed with you.
I love
Your
you
grandma
too.
Colleen.
I know. So it's weird to me though. I don't know where the animal thing. Yes, absolutely. From tiny. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then you kind of like became more aware of like it's a blanket. It's not, it's specific just to animals. It's a blanket. You're feeling all of it and you're exuding that positive energy to everybody. Which is
I positively
amazing.
wasn't positive in my youth. It was hell on wheels. So I don't know.
So the children are vampires, or what you're saying?
Yeah.
In more than one sense. Okay. Small child tangent over. So I do have a couple questions, and they're totally theoretical. And well, this one is for sure theoretical, I hope. But so they say like that psychopaths and sociopaths, like when they interview them or they do studies on them, like they always say like they have no emotion. Psychopaths and sociopaths can commit heinous acts and feel nothing. So I am so curious what kind of an experience an empath has when they cross paths with a sociopath or a psychopath or someone that, because as an empath, you feel the emotion or you feel what they're feeling. But if it's someone that feels nothing, like what do you sense? Like, because you have that instinct, you have that sixth sense for people's soul, essentially. So what is it? Like, what is the feeling?
Celeste, Susie.
Sorry,
I can-
sensitive question.
That's okay.
Wow.
I can tell you,
I've
dealing.
been married to a sociopath.
Thank you. So was I. I think we attract it. We attract
Yeah,
that
and
energy.
it's like they're drawn to me. Yeah, they're drawn to me. And it's like, I don't know, maybe because I give them some sense of balance because I feel everything so much and so intensely. But yeah, I remember telling the counselor, I said, he's never hurt anybody before or, you know, murder or harm or anything like that. And she goes, there's two kinds of sociopaths. There are those who kill people or rape people or harm people. And then there's those that are used car salesmen. And I busted out laughing because he wasn't a used car salesman, but he had 3 nephews and a brother-in-law that all were. And I was just like, oh, you just hit the nail on the head. And they would sell their grandmother the biggest lemon of a car and not care if she got stranded in the middle of the night in a blizzard on the outside of a road. You know, it was all about make the money, you know, what makes me happy. And, I'm pretty sure there's another person in my world that is a sociopath, if not a psychopath and a narcissist. And it was funny because it's like those things are not exactly the same in every person who has that. But there's very similar, like with being an empath, there's very similar qualities and traits. And it's just like, do I have a giant neon sign that says take advantage of me? Or I don't know, but it is strange because my ex-husband and this other person could mask it really well and be just sweet. And I mean, my ex-husband would do very kind things for people, but not so much our family. And it was very well. And the one is a Gemini, which have usually more than one personality trait, or you know, they people are like, oh, it's the twins, it's the split personality. Well, some of them it's 5 personalities, but you know, I don't know, it's just really weird. But they are attracted to me like little children were attracted to Colleen, I swear. But you, Colleen.
And Susie, what's your experience?
Well, it is kind of a Google known fact that empaths, not on purpose, attract narcissists because narcissists have an innate like need to be healed, but they don't know how to go about it. And so they basically just kind of try to feed energy off from the empath. But I have dealt with some of them, people trying to read them. And as far as emotions, I can feel like a nothingness, kind of a blankness from them, especially when I have dealt with it with a straight sociopath. But then I also dig into their higher self, basically who they were before they were here. So I get 2 layers, but I have felt them walking around before, and I know straight out that yes, that is an emotionless person. And as far as me as an empath, I have to step back. There's nothing I can do for them. So,
but that is a hard lesson to learn as an empath, to walk
There's
away
like
from those people.
It is. Yeah.
well, it's because that's our nature is to help. And
but
to
there,
heal.
I've seen a very, there's a very cynical, vengeful side to them too. And the smirk, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed the smirk. I can't imagine Colleen didn't notice the smirk. That smirk of like, look at my kind smile. I'm going to make your life hell. Kind of a, you know, it's yeah. And and it's getting complete pleasure from creating misery in someone else's life.
Do you know what's the scariest thing though? Is an awakened empath, someone that can recognize the manipulation coming from others. And thus we can either dodge it or we can actually turn the tables and manipulate them. I have literally seen that happen. And I've actually done it to my ex-husband because I was sick of his crap. So he didn't like it very much.
Well, and see, that was kind of like, that's perfect that you brought that up, because that was going to be my next question. And like I've heard them referred to as dark empaths, and it's essentially, well, I know that's like so negative, but it's essentially, you know, an empath that has had extreme intimate contact with a narcissist, a psychopath, a sociopath, someone that is leeching off of their energy, and you're constantly absorbing that negative energy, that hateful energy, all of those bad feelings, all those bad thoughts. And so you learn them, you adapt, and you can utilize them as a weapon, and it attunes you essentially to do it.
It works for a while, McKenna, but it tears your soul apart, because I was living that. And
if anybody ever needs to, like, look up the gray rock method. That's exactly how you should deal with them. Is just don't think of anything, just be like a gray rock. And that's how you
but it doesn't work well for very long. That's
until you can get away, because there's no changing these people.
You have to get away. You have to get away from them. Because I did all of the above with my ex-husband, who was, I did not know. He was schizophrenic, and then he was bipolar, and he was then diagnosed, after everything that happened, as psychopathic narcissistic disorder.
Lordy.
On top of all of that. So you just have to basically get out of that alive, because you can try to turn it all off. You can try to fling the tables. They're so much better at doing that manipulation and pain than anybody you've ever come across in your life. And as an empath, getting away from them is extremely hard, because you keep wanting to fix and heal and comfort. Unfortunately, it was used against me. So,
that's
and I feel like when he couldn't get you the other ways, that's when he started hurting himself, because he was hoping that you would feel bad for him. And it wasn't, I mean, it was, he wanted to hurt himself, but he hurt himself to hurt you, or to hurt, or to manipulate you.
He didn't know at that point I was done. So that's, you know what I mean? You can be the gray rock, you can turn the tables, but empaths, we take it to our soul, that pain. And it takes years to heal from something like that. So if you have those empathic traits, you need to stay away from those people. Absolutely away.
So I think the psychopathy, the sociopathic tendencies, or the narcissistic tendencies come from like a physical world trauma, or is it like part of their soul or their consciousness or their spiritual being? Like, is it something that's been with them through like multiple lives potentially, or is it something that's been gained in the physical world?
So see all of the above.
So they say that sociopaths are made and psychopaths are born, right? But I mean, that's very general. That's a very general, but usually there's,
narcissists are made as well, and you can't make them.
No.
So some of it is also like the wiring in your brain that's just not wired the same as everybody else. And so some of it is physical, some of it's lessons they need to learn from another life, karma, debts that need to be repaid. Like I said, it's a mixed bag of nuts, you know, but it's also can be from trauma. So there's a lot. And fractured souls. And it's just like taking a knot and trying to undo it, and it's just does itself up again.
So it's essentially like, you know, if you're living multiple lives,
that's
like you can
the
have
borderline
scars.
Personality disorder too. Is it's learned.
And we can't change them. Point. I mean, full stop. If they want to change, they have to change themselves. We can never change them, ever.
So I think a lot of empaths become, what's the term for it? No.
Victims.
I know. I thought victims too. I'm like,
no, I can't. It's codependent.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of the empaths are codependent on a toxic partner. And
If
it's
they haven't healed, yeah, for sure. If they haven't healed their own trauma, because a lot of them have trauma that they have, that's triggered some of that empathic abilities. And if they haven't healed that, then they will become codependent. And it's a real pooper.
Vicious cycle.
yeah, it
Mhm.
is. So I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, right? You have to learn how to manage it. Go ahead, Celeste.
One of my gifts is I see everybody's potential. I see all that they can be, the success they can have, all of the greatness of them. And it's really hard to remember potential doesn't exist. It is a possibility. It isn't a reality.
Yeah, you're right.
And most of them are quite content
Right.
at the level that they're at. You know, you could say, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you're brilliant. You could be, Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for
it's
bringing that
it's a
up.
good thing to see all the greatness in people, but man, it
Mhm.
gets me in trouble.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Celeste, because I have that same problem. And it's something that I worked on for a lot of years, especially with partners, like, husbands and things like that, because I'm like, oh, but I can see your potential. But then you have to remember they have free agency, whether they want to use that or not.
Right.
So,
Yep. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, McKenna, for bringing up a great topic. This was great. I think we could talk about this a lot.
Yeah, and thank you guys. I learned a lot, and this is a topic that I've been very curious about, so I feel much more enlightened.
Oh, I'm glad. And everybody for participating on the show, thank you so much. Please be sure to subscribe, share the show with your friends. We appreciate you so much. Shout out for our new show. It's at Cringeworthy Crime on YouTube. That's our new true crime show. And please go over and visit Midnight Lycanthropy. Yeah, everybody have a great night. We have more shows coming, by the way, in the hopper. So with friends, we're going to be doing more stuff. So I think you guys are going to have a lot more to fill your listening pleasure with. Anyway, guys, we're going to sign off. And tomorrow we have a great show. Back at you at 7 o'clock with a really interesting topic. Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.